Just looking at MSNBC, and they have Clinton's, I guess, one of their chief campaign strategist or whatever. Anyway, and they're going to ask her questions about the turnout. Now, obviously, if you haven't been under a rock, you know that the Hispanic turnout has increased dramatically. Okay, it's increased in Florida, it's increased in Arizona, it's increased in Nevada. Donald Trump, making disparaging remarks regarding Mexicans and Mexican Americans, basically has unified the Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, and most other people of Hispanic descent, except for the older Cubans, who still are Trump followers for the most part. He's done a job. The thing that really bugs the hell out of me is when they talk about the African American vote being down. And in some cases and some areas, excuse me, it absolutely is. And when the surrogates are asked for the reason why it's down, they basically come up with a bullshit story or bullshit reason, and then start talking about Obama going into the various areas trying to beef it up, try to get more people out. It's, in my mind, it's not a question of him trying to get more people out, but I'll make my determination at the end of this particular clip.
I want to get your take on some of what we have seen in early voting. Record numbers of Latinos in Nevada, and then there's this from Florida. 565,000 Hispanics have completed early in-person voting. That's a 100% increase from 2012. This is based on an analysis done by the Miami Herald. So what do you make of those numbers, Amanda? What does that mean?
We feel incredibly proud of what we are seeing from our ground game. Really the connection with Hillary Clinton, the answer back to Donald Trump. You are seeing the Latino community engage, and it's not just that they're engaging in bigger numbers, but you're seeing new voters come out, and that really is a sign here that the Latino community is engaged, that they're voting, that they're listening, and that they're watching. And so we couldn't be more proud of it.
There are some analysts who say what we will see ultimately in this election is a record number of Latinos who turn out to vote, that Donald Trump may have awakened a sleeping giant, so to speak. Do you think that's possible, that we're going to actually see a record number of Latinos turning out? And I know you've been working and pushing towards that, but could that actually be the case?
Yeah, absolutely. And specifically, there have been, as I've indicated in the past, a ton of Puerto Ricans coming over from the island and settling in that I-4 corridor. And those numbers are going to be the numbers that are going to at least offset, if not overwhelm, the number of the older Cuban populations. The older Cubans, for the most part, and some middle age and younger Cubans are still pro-Trump, Republican based, but a lot of the younger Cubans are not as pro-Trump as their older brethren. But the Puerto Ricans en masse are pretty much 100% in the Clinton corner. So that is going to make a difference, and I believe that's really what's going to deliver Florida for Clinton.
Absolutely, and we've been seeing this all across the board. We've been talking about it quite a bit. Not only the voter registration numbers that we were seeing, but really the volunteer efforts, the engagement. You know, one of the things that isn't often followed as closely on English media is a lot of the work that she's doing on Spanish media as well, being on some of the programs that are really traditional in the Latino community. And of course, having, I was in Arizona with Senator Kane when he gave his speech all in Spanish. That's the first time that's ever happened in a presidential campaign.
Let me ask you about another key.
All right, so again, as I indicated, Florida, I'm almost 100% sure that Florida is going to go to Clinton. I am 100% sure that Nevada is going to Clinton. Now, Arizona could be another story because there is a very large Hispanic population, and there was a major push to increase voting registration for the Hispanic community. That state is going to be a real battle. It wouldn't surprise me if it flipped, but again, if it stayed red, obviously that's kind of really where I'm thinking it's going to go. Now, here's a section that I'm taking exception to, as far as the reduction in the amount or percentages of the African American vote. Here we go.
Group African Americans, their turnout has not been as robust in states like North Carolina as it was back in 2012. Secretary Clinton doesn't need to match exactly what President Obama did, but she needs to get close. Are you concerned about that? And President Obama obviously out there helping her make the case. Do you think he's going to help deliver those critical votes, or are you concerned that she'll fall short?
No, I do. I believe our surrogates have done a fantastic job. Clearly, having President Obama, having the First Lady out there makes a real difference. But what you did see in North Carolina is we had a fantastic weekend with African American voters, and we're going to keep pushing at that. We know we need to be out there in those counties and those communities, and we're seeing some really great work. And so, I'm not worried that we'll be able to hit the targets we need to hit. And, we're seeing that energy come along. LeBron James in Ohio yesterday was also a really great moment for us on the campaign, but we've got to keep working at it.
Amanda, just very quickly, though, why do you think you're seeing African Americans not turn out in as strong numbers as you all were aiming for, at least prior to this moment? We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and I don't want to prejudge that, but at least prior to this moment.
Well, we're seeing some really great energy out there, so I'm confident that we're going to hit the right numbers. But listen, coming after the first African American president and his reelection, that's a motivating factor. But we want to meet it, and having, of course, President Obama out there, having the First Lady out there, really does make a difference. To be able to connect to voters to say, we need to do it again. We need to make history again. All right. And that's really been our message out here.
See, and now that's what pissed me off. That's where she left it. Okay. No mention of voter suppression in North Carolina. No mention of reducing the polls down from 18 per district down to 1. No mention of the suppression laws that were put into place that were overturned, that each individual voting district took their time in rolling back. No mention of that. Now, it is true that over the weekend, additional polling places were opened up, but they lost at least 1 week of early voting. They lost Sunday voting, which is known as souls to the polls. So as far as the numbers being behind, hell, if you lost 18 out of 19 polling places, your numbers would be behind too, because as much as people want to vote, standing in lines for hours and hours on end is not really all that appealing. Now, when the push comes to the shove, they are going to stand on line tomorrow, but as far as avoiding standing on lines during this past week, and that's exactly what has happened, I really don't blame a lot of them. I mean, we even had lines here in Texas, and we stood and waited. Ours weren't that long, so I'm not even going to try to boo-hoo about that. But our particular area has a pretty strong Democratic control as far as our voting districts are concerned. So they had plenty of places that were open, and they had plenty of availability at the time that I went. I didn't go before 8 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't go after 5. I went during the middle of the day during a work day, so I was fine. But it's been reported that in Cleveland, Ohio, the early voting line or early voting poll had lines that stretched out at least a mile. because it was the only place in Cuyahoga County, which is the county that Cleveland is housed in. They only had one, and it was like 500,000 people or so in that particular county. One place, yeah, give me a break. But in conclusion, at least these people should tell the damn truth instead of trying to color exactly what's going on here. The African American people were targeted in order to try to knock that vote down. And in the case of North Carolina, it's been somewhat successful. We'll find out tomorrow. In the case of Ohio, it's been somewhat successful. We'll see tomorrow. And also in the case of Pennsylvania, it's been somewhat successful. We will see tomorrow.